okay with that? We'll talk about Lord Chaitanya in this session.
Of course. Of course.
Did you all have a nice Gaura Purnima?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good.
Everybody did their efforts. Bhakti Mala baked some muffins and some cookies. Everybody, and then Mahat Sevak, he make that the barfi and all that. Oh, everybody, and Taushan Prabhu, he cooked the different meals. And there's the one Western family came first time to the temple. They didn't know there is a festival, and there was like a 12 item. We can't fit in a plate, and they were over the moon. Wow, what a different. There's a okra, there's a bitter melon, you name it, all that, and they were so great. He said, "Wow, that's great. I should have to come here every day." Yes, ma, you come tomorrow, you'll have a dal and rice only.
Yeah.
You can't get this thing every day, 12 items.
It's amazing, when a person first comes to Krishna often gives him, like him or her, a free sample of bliss and nectar, isn't it? I mean,
yes,
it's a very special feeling we all have when we come to the Krishna conscious movement. Everything just seems so ecstatic and blissful, and the prasadam is amazing, and the kirtans and everything. Sometimes, unfortunately, later on, we can get covered over by some mire and stuff, and often it's said after that Krishna gives you a free sample, and after that it's said that Krishna makes you work for it. In the beginning, he offloads lots of nectar and bliss for you, but later on it's said that Krishna withdraws that just bliss given freely, and he makes you work for it. So you have to put the effort in. Only if you put the effort in, then you'll get the nectar that you're always anxious for. But in the beginning, it's just whether you want it or not, Krishna just gives you it, 12 course meal the first day you came. I still remember 30 years later, the first day I came to the temple, and the first devotee I saw dressed up, with an adoti and kurta and tilak and everything like that, shaven head. He was a Maori devotee. And boy, he looked like an angel to me. He really looked like an angel. He was so effulgent.
Stand out.
He was so effulgent and, freshly shaven head and everything like that. Tilak, and the tilak really stands out when you got dark skin, so it was really impressive, the tilak and everything, and bright saffron clothes. And I still remember, and the temple president, he very kindly sat down with me and I had my first meal with the temple president sitting right next to me. And I still remember the sweet rice to this day. It was like the most ecstatic thing I've ever had. So 30 years later, I remember that, because it's amazing. It's like nectar. And the kirtans, I remember just dancing all the time and everything like that. It's just great, fantastic. Yeah, so Lord Chaitanya, he's God himself, but he came in the mood of a devotee. So let's read a little bit. I thought, because I wasn't sure what books you have available, so we can still read from the Bhagavad Gita, because Prabhupada talks about Lord Chaitanya quite a bit in many purports. So first one, we'll offer respect to Prabhupada first, to the spiritual master. Om Jnanatamandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes to the shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances to his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Lord Chaitanya ki jai. Okay, so the first one we can look at is 4th chapter, text number 8. So we can read the Sanskrit once and then read the translation, and then we'll go to the last paragraph of the purport, is the one that talks about Lord Chaitanya. So 4th chapter, text 8. This is a very famous verse, very important verse, which establishes the reason why God comes to the material world from the spiritual world, the reason why he comes. The previous verse also talks about the same subject, but this verse also, so the 7th verse and the 8th verse explain why God comes to this world. Paritranaya sadunam.
Pritranaya sadunam.
Vanashaya chaduskritam.
Vinashaya chadushkritam.
Dharma samstapanataya.
Dharma sanstha apnathaya.
Sambhavami yuge yuge.
Sambhavami yuge yuge.
Bob, would you like to read the translation, please?
I deliver the pious and the I deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to be re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium.
Yeah. So two kinds of persons in the material world. There's the pious, those that follow God's laws. You could say religious principles. What is religion? What does it mean? What does religion mean? Religion basically is God's laws. That's if someone asks you what is it? What is religion? That's what basically it is. It's the laws of God. That's the religion. So if a religious person means that you follow the laws of God. An irreligious person means you don't follow the laws of God. You disobey the laws of God. So one way of saying that, a religious person is a pious person. So a pious person is a religious person. So a pious person is following the laws of God. So same thing, a religious person or a pious person. The pious means you follow the laws of God. You're a religious person. One time Prabhupada explained the word piety. What does piety mean? Piety means one who does pious activities. That's piety. One who is engaged in pious activities, which is, to follow the laws of God. That's called piety. So he was explaining the meaning of the word piety or pious. He said it's activities that you do that clean your heart. Interesting, eh? So that's what a pious activity is. It's an activity that cleans your heart. So what's the opposite of a pious activity is, you could say impious, or another word of calling it the opposite to pious is sinful. So if pious means activity that cleans your heart, then what is sinful activity? How would you define that?
Things that unclean your heart.
Make it dirty. Anything you do that make your heart more dirty is a sinful activity. Okay, when we come to ISKCON, we avoid 4 sinful activities. What are they? Who knows what the 4 sinful activities?
No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no drinking. Yeah,
intoxication. So if someone asks you why you don't do those 4 things, these sinful activities, why?
It's adharma.
It's adharma, irreligious, okay. Yes. So, going by what I just said, if pious activities clean your heart and sinful activities make your heart
make you dirty,
so why don't we do those 4 things?
To clean the heart, and if you do this one, they're gonna make a heart dirty. So we don't do it.
That's why we don't do those 4 things, is because they make our heart more dirty. And should we care about our heart being dirty or not?
We have to, otherwise we'll have a heart attack.
If you want to stay in the material world, don't worry about it. Who cares? If you want to stay in the material world with a dirty heart, then that's why we're here in the material world, because we've got a dirty heart. And the number 1 dirt that came into the heart and why we came here is envy, which we've talked about before. So that's one of the dirt is envy, that we're envious of Krishna. We have a desire to become God, to be Krishna, and we're envious. We hate God. We hate Krishna because we want to have his position. So that becomes dirt in the heart. And what's some other examples of dirt in the heart?
Anger.
Yep. Anger. Yep.
Jealousy.
Yep, which is similar to envy. Yep.
Sorry, it is.
It's not exactly the same. Jealousy means you want what someone else has, and envy is a step further. You want what they have, and then you want to bring them down or kill them even, you know, so you want to destroy the person or bring them down. That's another step beyond jealousy. Hey, Bhakti Mala, you said something?
Lust and greed.
Yeah, lust and greed, like that. You know, so let's look at these different sinful activities. Which particular kind of dirt would you say that it creates? Like illicit sex, for example. We've just explained some of them. What kind of dirt would illicit sex increase in the heart?
It's illicit sex. It's create the desire, and if you can't fulfill the desire, you got to lust, and then if you don't fulfill, anger comes. Your brain fails.
Yeah.
And you do the
things lust. So that increases the dirt of lust. You know, material desires, and the desires will grow more and more. And like Gulshan was saying, if you don't fulfill the desire, you get frustrated and then become angry, which is another kind of dirt. And okay, gambling. What kind of dirt would that create?
Gambling, it's like a ruin there. Everything, whatever you have got there in a house, and like, you know, your wife will say, "Where's your paycheck?" "Oh, I just went there, double or nothing." "So what you got?" "Nothing."
Yeah.
So, and then
a lot of dirt comes from gambling.
Yeah.
So what one of them, Jayanti just said from downstairs, is lying. So
yes,
that's a very important principle of religion or dharma, is truthfulness. So the opposite is untruthfulness or lying. So that's irreligious. That's impious or sinful. You know, and a lot of lying comes from gambling, because somehow or other you have to get the money, right, to keep throwing into the casino. So you tell all kind of lies. I know, you know, of parents that they come home and the kids are hungry and they ask the mum, you know, where's the food? And she says, "Oh, I don't have any money. I had to pay the bills," or whatever like that. I don't have any money to buy food. But actually what really happened was that she threw it all in the lotto machines, you know, so like that. So she's lying. And sometimes even people will steal from their own family members to support the gambling addiction. You know, they'll even steal from their own family members like that. It makes one crazy. And a particular kind of dirt also is greediness, lobha. Means greed. So greed will increase. You know, we want more and more, isn't it? You already have enough money. Why do you want another $1 million anyway? Because you're a greedy guy. You know, you don't actually need the money like that. And like that, it's just greed. We should be satisfied actually with the money we earn with our honest work. That's a very important principle. That and we know that everyone has to work, right? Money's not just going to fall out of the sky, or food's not going to fall out of the sky, or, you know, a house is not going to fall on top of you generally, but you have to work for it. But you should be satisfied by whatever you can get from your honest work. You shouldn't do any dishonest things to, you know, make a living. You should just be satisfied with what you.
Is there all the invention happen because the human nature is greedy? That's where the invention happens?
Invention, I wouldn't say all inventions happen because of greedy.
Like
some different reasons. I mean, we have a lot of human being has God-given intelligence, but often instead of applying that intelligence to understanding God, you know, like using our intelligence for who am I and why am I here and where did I come from, why am I suffering, all that, we use our intelligence for, you know, creating new technologies and so forth to increase our sense gratification. You know, so I would say a lot of things come from a misuse of intelligence, but we're not properly applying our intelligence to God. So we got to do something with your intelligence, right? So what are you going to do with it? You know, you're going to think about how to make bigger skyscrapers and smaller mobiles and faster cars and weapons that can kill more people and everything like that. So you've got a brain, but if you don't use it for the good things, you use it for bad things. And that's the term here Prabhupada uses, to annihilate the miscreants. So what is a miscreant? You know, that that human being has a good brain. He has great potential, but misusing that potential. So if you have great potential and you're misusing it, then you're called a miscreant. You're called a miscreant. That you have something very valuable, something good, but you're using it for bad things. Like if you have great wealth, that could be used for wonderful purposes, to feed hungry people or, to help sick people or whatever like that. But if you use it to create weapons to destroy people and kill and poison people or whatever like that, then that's a miscreant. That's a rascal. Prabhupada, one of the most common words that Prabhupada used was rascal. Has any of you heard Prabhupada use the term rascal?
There is a restaurant called Rascal in Newcastle.
Okay.
I'll take a photo and send you next time, because sometimes I drive the Uber and people work there, a chef and the waiter and all, they often use the Uber and then say, oh, would you like to, where you like to go? He said, Rascal. I said, excuse me? So that's a restaurant. It's in a King Street in Newcastle. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, send the picture.
Yes,
yeah. So that's why God comes to the world to free or deliver those persons that are following his directions, godly people, God-conscious people, following his instructions. He delivers them from, what does he deliver them from? What do we need to be delivered from in the material world? What is it that we really need to be saved from or freed from in the material? Jayanti said from the cycle of birth and death. Yeah. So what's the problem with the cycle of birth and death?
It's just a old age, disease, and death. There's 4 things gonna come, and
is that a happy condition or is it a
not
happy?
Really. It's called a dukhalde.
Yeah, dukkha means suffering, distress. Yeah. So that's what we need to be delivered from suffering. And some examples of the suffering is suffering of birth, suffering of old age, suffering of disease, suffering of death. And then that cycle goes on and you don't get out of it. So that the Lord comes to deliver the religious people, pious people, from that cycle of suffering and birth and death. And he comes to annihilate the miscreants, those irreligious people. And what is one of the main causes of suffering for the religious people, pious people? It's the irreligious people, the sinful people, the rascals, create so much suffering. I'll give you an example. The politicians. they're mostly, the modern day politicians are irreligious. They're sinful people, and the direction they're taking the society is creating more and more suffering, and of course they extract taxes from all the people, which is hard-earned money, and then they take the taxes and then they put it in their pocket, and they go to the casino and the brothel and so forth, enjoy, and they don't really take care of us by using that money for a good purpose so much, but and they create all crazy things. Like they like, for example, Jayanti used to work in the Ministry of Internal Affairs for gambling regulation. Right? So the government has one department to regulate gambling. Now the government is the supreme authority, right? So they can stop gambling if they wanted to. So why do they allow the gambling to continue?
Because the revenue comes that.
Yeah, they get money from it. They get money from sinful activity. And why do they allow the animal killing to continue? Because they get money from it. Why do they, everybody knows, even you're a complete idiot, everybody knows that people drinking and smoking and that creates so much suffering. Most car accidents, I would say, a vast majority is because of drink driving, right?
Yep.
And a vast number of people that are dying of diseases, it's due to either drinking or smoking. I mean, when I was in hospital with my appendix burst, nearly everyone in the room with me, it was due to something to do with intoxication or smoking while they were in the room. One his liver was wrecked because of drinking. Another one, his what is that other organ? His
Kidneys?
Pancreas. His pancreas was wrecked from drinking, you know, so that's why they were in there. And they were suffering horribly, you know, like that. But the government can stop that. But it doesn't, because it makes money out of cigarettes and it makes money out of alcohol.
I mean, they probably spend like a $2 billion on the hospital and all, but they're making $20 billion as a revenue taxes, and then spend $2 billion for people are dying their own care. At least they got an $18 billion profit.
Yeah. So these are miscreants. These are rascals, you know. So Krishna comes and removes them, so that the life of the devotees becomes better. Because actually devotees can tolerate, you know, birth and old age and disease and death, but the sufferings created by the demons are intolerable. Just like we know the example, of course, of Prahlad and his father, right? Prahlad is a pious person, he's a devotee, but the father is a miscreant, is a sinful demon.
But there was a shloka before, yada yada I dharmasya glani bhakti bhav abhyuthanam dharmasya. But the thing is, 500 years ago, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. On that time, there was anything there. That's why reincarnation, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was, what was the reason, like, you know, when he came? It was no such thing. Like 5,000 years ago, the Krishna came because of the, you know, what's the happened to the Duryodhana demons and all that.
The big demons, like.
But what's the 500 years ago? What happened the 500 years ago when Chaitanya
Mahaprabhu
came?
Why did he come 500 years ago?
Yeah.
There wasn't, in Kali Yuga, there's not, in Kali Yuga, there's not big demons. In previous ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, big demons. So there's very few demons, but they're very powerful.
Yeah.
Like in Treta Yuga, there was Ravana. He's like a universal terrorist. Yeah. You know, and before him, there was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, his brother, and they're like universal terrorists. You know, so they travel planet to planet and creating chaos and suffering and everything like that. Even the demigods were afraid of them. In Dwapara Yuga, there's persons like Kamsa and Duryodhana. Once again, you know, they could even go to different planets too, even going back 5,000 years ago. Kamsa used to fight against the demigods and other planets. And like that, they're very powerful. Even Duryodhana, also the demigods afraid of Duryodhana.
It's like if you know that, it's like when the wars finish everything, only the Dhritarashtra was alive. And he just like, okay, it's the fate that my sons are died there. He wants to congratulate like a Bhima. He says, come on, he's my brother's son. I would like to hug you. And the Krishna knows that. So because he was blind, but he was so powerful, if he hugged the Bhima, he'll crush it in the pieces. So Krishna sent a statue first of a Bhima. And then he crushed the statue to anger for that one. Back in those days, like, you know, there was that much powerful the people were. Oh, that was. But then 500 years ago, what was that? Like, why?
So I'll explain. So now in Kali Yuga, we don't have these big demons, but we have lots and lots and lots of small demons. You know, tiny demons. So, but it's still, you know, very problematic that, and Prabhupada said this many times, you know, we have, you know, Prabhupada would always be asked, you know, how do we solve the crime problem? How do we solve the social problem? How do we solve the financial problem? How do we solve the environmental problem? So many problems, right? We all know there's a long list of problems. But Prabhupada would give pretty much the same answer for every problem. You know what that is? What's the cause of the problem?
Chant, dance, and be happy.
Well, that's the solution. But what's the cause of all of the problems? Same cause.
All the problem is one, like a desire. They want.
Well, you could sum that up. I mean, he would say we live in a godless civilization, a godless society, godless. So this is what happens in a demoniac society, sinful society. We take God out of the picture. I mean, what we've talked about it before. What does Maya mean?
Maya means I and myself.
Yeah, we think I am the body.
Yeah, I'm the body, I'm the president, I'm the prime minister.
Body is mine.
Myself is like my house, my daughter, my watch, my car. Just two things, I and myself. That's Maya.
Yeah, but actually the definition of Maya means that which is not. That which is not. So what does that mean? We're thinking that something is not God.
That's Maya.
That's Maya.
Everything is a God.
That, everything's God's energy. But when your knowledge gets covered over and that you forget that everything is connected with God, everything's related with God, then that's Maya. This body is God's energy, and the husbands and wives and kids and parents and the money is God's energy, and the house is God's energy, and the food is God's energy, and the environment is God's energy.
Would you say intelligence?
Everything, the mind, the intelligence.
Even if you just breathe in, or even just the laptop and the Skype.
The fire, the sky, the moon, the sun, everything. There's nothing. If you think there's something that's not connected with God, that's Maya. That's Maya. So we live in that kind of civilization where we can completely, God is not anywhere to be found in our consciousness. He's completely absent like that. So that's completely an illusory existence. And Prabhupada would explain that basically the same solution for all the multiple problems that we're having is that we've removed God from our life, from our consciousness. Of course, God is everywhere, but from our mind, from our consciousness, we've completely forgotten God. And that kind of godless, forgetful state is the cause of all problems. And that's a very sad situation. See, previously there'd be a minority of very big, powerful demons, but most people were God conscious and they believed in God. They had faith in God. But now we're even a worse situation than in the previous ages. We think, oh yeah, I can see why Krishna had to come before, because there was a big demon like that. But I can't see why he has to come now. There's no big demons. But actually it's even more important that he comes now, because the whole society, right from the top to the bottom, is godless. Is so godless, so atheistic. So it's very important why he comes. And just before Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, all the devotees that were living at that time, before Lord Chaitanya came, there were devotees like Advaitacharya. He was the oldest. You see him with a beard, right? In the Panchatattva, those 5 people, one of them has a beard. So that's Advaitacharya. I mean, he was very elderly. And then there were Lord Nityananda. He was also there, and Haridas Thakur was also there before Lord Chaitanya appeared. Many great devotees, Srivas Thakur, were there. And they were all lamenting. They were all lamenting that no one talks about God. No one sings God's names. No one thinks about God. No one serves God. Everyone's just into their having a good family life and having sex and eating and everything, and worshipping demigods. A big thing in India, of course, 500 years ago, it's there now, but it was there 500 years ago. A lot of demigod worship, but hardly anyone actually just loved God and wanted to serve God, doing bhakti. That was so rare. And all the devotees were so sad, and they were lamenting. And they were worshipping Krishna in different forms, like the Shalagram Shila, the stone. Advaitacharya worshipped Shalagram Shila, Krishna in his black stone form. And so they worshipped, Srivas Thakur worshipped Lord Nrsingadev. And they were worshipping their deities, praying that Krishna, please come. This society has become so ignorant, so degraded, and people are suffering because of it. Please come and deliver these people. So it's said, especially because of the prayers of Advaitacharya, Haridas Thakur, like that, because of them that Lord Chaitanya appeared, that Krishna appeared in that form of Lord Chaitanya to answer the prayers of Advaitacharya and other devotees that were lamenting, is so unhappy to see that people were so godless and so materialistic. It's that makes devotees very unhappy, because if people are not God conscious, guaranteed they're not going to be happy. Guaranteed. Prahlad Maharaj says that in one of his prayers, that without being Krishna conscious, you can't be happy. That's why the devotee becomes a preacher, tries to share or spread Krishna consciousness, because he sees that without Krishna consciousness, everyone's unhappy. And I just had one neighbor came to my gate today, or she was just walking by, and she was so unhappy, and because they had a get together with some of the other locals recently, and one of the other locals that was attending that gathering got very angry and abused her, verbally abused her and stuff. And she was so upset, even like days later, she's still upset, And, but all this can be solved, by Krishna consciousness. If people were Krishna conscious, they wouldn't get so angry. And if people were Krishna conscious, they would be able, even if someone did get angry, another person, you'd be able to tolerate it. You understand? So those problems wouldn't be there if people were Krishna conscious. And one thing I said to her is, the reason why a lot of people, get angry and so forth is because they have going through their own problems, and they're sort of offloading some of that on other people. So there's obviously some underlying reasons why that person's angry. But you see, if you become Krishna conscious, then all these problems get out.
They're angry because they think they are the doer.
Yeah, so many things, so many reasons. That's part of it. So, but Krishna consciousness, just in one stroke, solves all of these things. If you're Krishna conscious, you wouldn't get so angry, and you wouldn't have so many material desires, so you wouldn't get frustrated, and you wouldn't get angry. And even if someone did get angry at you, you'd be able to tolerate that, and you wouldn't get upset by that. You'd see it's my own bad karma that I'm getting this or whatever. So you'd be able to deal with it better. So that's, the devotees can see that this is why we're suffering, is because we're not, people are not Krishna conscious. So they're always trying to help people become Krishna conscious. The situation was so bad 500 years ago, the devotees were thinking that the situation is so bad that we can't fix it. The only person that can fix it is if God comes himself. God is the supreme power. He's the only one powerful enough to overpower Maya. Because what is this that's causing us to be so ignorant and be so lusty, greedy, angry, envious, so forth? That's the power of God's energy, Maya. So each of one of us individually, we're smaller than Maya. Maya's more stronger than us. But however, Maya is not more stronger than God. She's subordinate to God. So their idea was that we can't overcome all of this Maya, this illusion. But if God comes, he can just clear it off. He can clear it off. He can free people, set people free from Maya. So Lord Chaitanya came. So let's read a little bit before we talk too much from this purport. So we'll go to the last paragraph of the purport, fourth chapter, text 8. Last paragraph.
The Lord says that he incarnate himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnate also in the age of Kali. As started in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the incarnation in the age of Kali is the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of holy name, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that this culture of Sankirtan would be broadcast all over the world from town to town and village to village. Lord Chaitanya, as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly but not directly in confidential part of revealed scriptures such as Upanishad, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam. The devotee of Lord Krishna are very much attached by Sankirtan moment of Lord Chaitanya. The avatar of Lord does not kill the miscreant but delivers his causeless mercy. But it's like what happened? Krishna came 5,000 years ago. Chaitanya came 500 years ago. We followed that 500 years ago. All that. What happened this 4,500? We don't talk about that. Nothing happened in 4,500 years. Like we call that from 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the way all till Prabhupada.
Yeah.
But the gap of 4,500 years ago, we don't really talk anything. It's just nothing.
I mean, there's always devotees and there's always devotional service. That's always there in every age. So, after Krishna had appeared, there would still be devotees, of course, and, disciplic successions, those that, because, like Krishna spoke to Arjuna would have spoken to some people.
Yeah.
And those people would have spoken to some people and so forth. And Krishna had many other devotees like Uddhava. Uddhava was Krishna's cousin, so Uddhava spoke to other people like that. And that's mentioned in Bhagavatam, some of those talks between Uddhava and other devotees, Uddhava and Vidura. Dhritarashtra's brother was Vidura, so Uddhava was speaking with Vidura like that. So there's always Krishna consciousness, whether the Lord is on the earth or whether he's not. I mean, actually, the Lord is always here, but sometimes his presence on the earth is called aprakat. Aprakat means not manifest. And when he comes in his eternal spiritual form, when he descends, that's called prakat. Prakat means manifest. So, like Krishna, he came in his prakat form that was here for 125 years. 125 years. Krishna was, you could see him, standing, playing his flute in Vrindavan, or see him in Mathura, or see him in Dwarka. So there was 3 places that Krishna spent that 125 years. I think he spent about 14 years in Vrindavan. And then he spent a short period of time, so I don't know exactly how many years, a short period of time in Mathura, less than the 14. And then the vast majority spent in Dwarka, like that. So, but is Krishna not here now? Or after that 125 years? No, he still was, but not manifest, but unmanifest. Even it said to this day in Vrindavan, then Krishna is performing pastimes in Vrindavan to this day.
In Nidhivan.
Yeah, Nidhivan in so many places, but not manifest to ordinary person's eyes. Actually, if you're very pure devotee, can still see Krishna. And we pointed it out before, pastimes with Prabhupada, right? When Krishna was there with Prabhupada was seeing Krishna. So for the pure devotee, Krishna is always here in the material world. One time, Krishna was speaking with Narada Muni, and he said, Naham tastami vaikunte yoginam hridaye suva tatra tastami narada yatra gayanti madbhakta. So what is Krishna saying there to Narada is that he says, I do not live in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, which is a big surprise to hear. And then he says, I do not live in the heart of the yogi, which is also another surprise to hear, because Paramatma is in the heart, right? So he's saying, I don't live in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. I don't live in the heart of the yogi. I live wherever my devotees are singing my glories. He says, I live wherever my devotees are singing my glories. So wherever the pure devotee is, that's where God is. That's where God is. God is wherever the pure devotee is. And who is the pure devotee? That person that's always singing God's glories, always talking about God, singing his names, praising him like that, remembering him, serving him. That's wherever God is. But that's, for the most people, that's unmanifest. Only the pure devotees will be seeing the Lord. So it's not that the Lord's absent. So even after Krishna left, up till 500 years ago, before Lord Chaitanya come, then pure devotees are there, and the Lord is manifesting himself to them only, and they're having a loving relationship with him. And there's the successions, passing the knowledge down like that. And however, over a period of time, like when God comes, right, it's like awesomely powerful. The Krishna conscious movement is very powerful when God descends, right? The main man, you know, the supreme power is here with us. It's like when Prabhupada was present here, you know, like up till 1977. You know, from when he first came from India in 1965, 1977, the Krishna conscious movement is like powerful because the Acharya, the big pure devotee guru, is there. But when Prabhupada left, it was still very good in 1978, but not quite as good in 1979, a bit less in 1980, a bit less in 81, you know, go like that, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, 2020. So slowly we're getting
it's expanding. It's not
in
down.
One sense,
you know,
in one sense, yeah.
In Delhi, at the moment, 23 temple in Delhi, ISKCON temple, 23. When I was there was only 6.
Yeah.
It's expanding.
Well, there's two things.
26 what, sorry?
23 temple in Delhi in 25-kilometer radius. 23 temple.
Yeah, there's two things though you can measure, is with quantity and quality. So I would agree with Gulshan that in quantity that ISKCON is increasing. But I would say in quality,
we don't need to measure it. Krishna has measured the quality.
True.
All we have to do is just increase, just spread.
But like Prabhupada said himself, what is the value of so many stars? We just need one moon. One moon. So which is more important, more valuable, one moon or millions of stars?
One moon.
One moon. Because the stars don't do anything. What benefit do you get out of stars? You know, nothing. But you get a lot of benefit out of the moon. You can see at night. Like, I don't know, did anyone of you go out at night time around Gaura Purnima?
In Gaura Purnima, it's the biggest moon in the whole year.
Beautiful, isn't it? Lights up the whole.
We're sitting outside and having the prasadam at 8 o'clock. Beautiful moon. And like all the junkies get crazy, but we enjoyed it.
So, yeah, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. But definitely when Prabhupada was present, there's a special energy. Like special energy.
The time to time, the true bhakta comes.
So what happens generally after every incarnation leaves, it's slowly things drop down a bit. And then like by the time Lord Chaitanya come, it had pretty much got lost. You know, what Krishna had left us, pretty much most of it, like I said, they'd become demigod worshippers and no one thought about God and everything like that. Except, of course, there was a handful of devotees. You know, there was a handful of pure devotees. You know, and then Lord Chaitanya came and he revived it right back up again. It's like fantastic. And when Lord Chaitanya left, it dropped down a little bit. Then
Prabhupada came.
Down. Well, then, yeah, it was really bad, before Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then he brought it back up a bit. And then, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati brought it up a bit more, and then Prabhupada spread it around the world, you know, like that, spread it around the world. So yeah. So when the Lord or the pure devotee is there, things go up, and when they leave, you know, that's all chaos. That's all chaos. You know, like I'll give you an example. When Prabhupada left, so many devotees left the movement, you know, and also gurus fell down, sannyasis fell down, GBC fell down. So many like that had difficulties. And of course, when the gurus left, what happened? All the disciples left, you know. So there was like one guru, he might have 10,000 disciples, and if he bloops, you know the word bloop, right? If he bloops, then sometimes like half of them would bloop. So suddenly overnight you'd lose like 5,000 devotees.
That's true, because Prabhupada gave it a initiation for 10,000 people, and we can't see only handful of 100 maybe Prabhupada disciple. We can't see them. But he initiated 10,000 people. Where are they?
I think nearly there, yeah. Well, many have died, of course. Many have passed away. I mean, you're not going to see them also because, I mean, you don't go all over the world and see who's there. But also many of them are just, you know, have families and they're working and stuff. So many of them are still practicing, but a lot stopped practicing, you know, after Prabhupada left or after their guru had problems, they stopped practicing also. And new ones, of course, become devotees and they start to practice and stuff like that. But definitely, you know, it's difficult when the Lord leaves or the pure devotee leaves like that. So, but when Lord Chaitanya came, that was like a golden age. That was like a golden age when Lord Chaitanya came. It became so ecstatic, so ecstatic. And it's mentioned here that the Lord is saying here in Bhagavad Gita, that he comes in every age, yuga. So this Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of God for Kali Yuga. He's the incarnation of God in Kali Yuga, and that's explained in the scriptures that in Satya Yuga the Lord incarnates in a white color. In the next Yuga age he comes in a red color, and in Dwapara Yuga comes in a black color. That's Krishna. And in Kali Yuga, he comes in a golden color. That's Lord Chaitanya. And they're called Yuga Avatar. So when the Yuga Avatar, the incarnation for the age, comes, what are they doing? They're teaching the Yuga Dharma. So with every age, there is a religious process recommended, you know, the process for self-realization. So what is the process for self-realization, the Dharma? For Kali Yuga, that's Harinam Sankirtan. So Harinam Sankirtan, Hari is one of God's names, Hari. And then Nama, so the name of God, Sankirtan means chanting together. So this is the recommended process for self-realization in Kali Yuga, is for people to come together and chant God's names. That is the process. And who first came to teach that process? That was Lord Chaitanya. So he came and he propagated the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is God's names, Hare Krishna and Rama. So in every Kali Yuga, there's an incarnation that teaches that. However, the Lord Chaitanya that was here 500 years ago is not that Yuga avatar that comes in every Kali Yuga. So in one day of Lord Brahma, there's 1,000 Yuga cycles. They're called Chatur Yuga. Chatur means 4. So there's 4 Yuga cycles. There's 1,000 of these cycles in one day of Lord Brahma, right?
Oh.
So it's Satya Treta Dwapara Kali times by 1,000. That 4 of them together is 4.32 million years, right? 4.32 million years. If you add up a Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali together, that's 4.32 million years. Multiply that by 1,000. That's one day of Lord Brahma. And he's got 365 days in his year as well. And he's got 100 years in his life. So
forget it. I lost.
And it's the same time. That's just his day. His night is the same. So he has a day and a night, right? So that's just his day. So night is the same as the day. 12 hours day, right? 12 hours night. So in one day, there's 1,000 Kali Yugas. of Lord Brahma. And all of the 1,000 Kali Yugas, the chanting of the holy names is propagated, right, by the Yuga Dharma, Yuga Avatar. But the Lord Chaitanya that was here 500 years ago is very special. He comes only once in a day of Brahma. And we are living now on this world just 500 years after that personality who comes once in a day of Lord Brahma. He doesn't come 1,000 times in a day. He comes only once. He's a very special incarnation. What is he doing? He's doing what the normal Yuga Avatar does, of teaching the process of self-realization, the Yuga Dharma, but he's doing something extra. What is it extra he's doing? He is showing us by his example how to develop the love of the gopis of Vrindavan. That no other incarnation shows that. Nobody. Only this particular Yuga Avatar, who is not actually an incarnation of Krishna. This Yuga Avatar is not an expansion or an incarnation of Krishna. This Yuga Avatar, Lord Chaitanya, is Krishna. It is Krishna. And Krishna, who came 5,000 years ago, he also doesn't come every Dwapara Yuga. That Krishna, he is the original Supreme Personality Godhead Krishna, the source of all incarnations. He only comes once in a day of Lord Brahma also. So we're very lucky. Krishna, who came 5,000 years ago, and Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, they only come once in a day of Lord Brahma. All the rest are expansions of God, but these are actually God himself, the original Supreme Person. It said there's 14 Manus in every day of Lord Brahma. Manu means father of mankind, 14 Manus. So the original Krishna and the original Lord Chaitanya come only during the 7th Manu and the 28th Yuga cycle. The 28th Yuga cycle of the 7th Manu is only that's the only time that the original Krishna comes and the original Lord Chaitanya come. So we're very lucky to be in that 7th Manu 28th Yuga cycle. We're very fortunate. So these aren't just any old incarnation. They're actually the supreme original being has come like that. And Lord Chaitanya, he is Krishna, but in the mood of a devotee of Krishna. What mood is, which devotee is Krishna exhibiting the mood of?
Radharani.
Radharani. So it's actually Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the mood of Radharani. It's said that Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna combined into one. So you got Radha and Krishna, they've combined into one form. So Krishna has assumed the color of Radharani. It's actually Krishna, but Krishna in the mood of Radharani and with the color of Radharani, because she's golden color. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi. So one name of Radharani is Gaurangi. So she's got a Gaura means golden and Anga means body. So and it's Gauranga. So Gauranga is Krishna in the mood of Radharani with a golden colored form, just like Radharani. And he's come to teach the Yuga Dharma, coming together to chant Hare Krishna, but he's also come to show us how we can develop the highest love of Krishna. Who has the highest love of Krishna? The cowherd damsels, the cowherd girls of Vrindavan. They have so much intense love for Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya was exhibiting that mood of the gopis, of feeling, what is the mood of the gopis? Feeling separation from Krishna. he always felt so much separate. So he wasn't just saying, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He was crying, feeling separation from Krishna. Although he is Krishna, he's Krishna, but he's in the mood of a devotee and feeling separation from Krishna. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how long we have to wait to see the true devotee like Prabhupada? We didn't came the time of the Prabhupada. So when will be, if we get any chance to see the true devotee, or we're gonna just die without seeing that?
Well, it's the same. I don't know. My voice is feeding back. I don't know. Have you got feedback on your end?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It just started a minute ago, but it's all reverbing. Anyway, tolerate it. Has anyone changed anything on your in the last minute?
No.
Okay, maybe the technology is playing up.
My camera was off, and then I just fixed it. But no change at all.
Okay. How to deal with joint? But everyone wants that sticker on.
Is that Simha jump on the computer screen or some keyboard or something?
No, I just a second after I say something, I hear it again. So it's like
yeah. I felt that same.
Anyway, so I try to concentrate. It just makes it a bit harder. That's all. So your question now: are we going to see a pure devotee like Prabhupada?
Yes.
But like I said, for the pure devotee, Krishna's always there. It's not that if 5,000 ago he's not here anymore. For them, he's still there. And like Prabhupada, even for spiritual master, he said, I never feel separate from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Because when I follow his instructions, I feel his presence. You understand?
Yeah.
Prabhupada said, when I follow my Guru's instructions, I feel his presence. I feel his association. So Prabhupada put the secret there. You can always feel his presence or his presence or his presence by thinking of their words, what they've told us, like that. And I many times feel Prabhupada's presence. And sometimes I felt Krishna's presence.
So after Prabhupada left, nobody got that title yet.
Well, it's just a title. The title doesn't really matter.
No, it's like, but then Prabhupada, the Prabhupada devotees are pure devotees, then we have, because he's following Prabhupada.
Well, it's a case-by-case thing. Because we're eternal individuals and we have free choice, whether we're going to become a pure devotee, you can't. Just because our Guru is a devotee, it's not automatic that we're going to be a devotee. It may be, but maybe not. I mean, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was a pure devotee. He has thousands of disciples. Did all of his disciples become pure devotees?
No.
What does Krishna say? If you look at 7th chapter, text 3. You can look at that. Text 3. Anushyana Sahasrasya Yadatam Visadanam
Manushyana srasteshu kashityatati siddhye yayatamapi siddhana karishma vettatantvaya. Out of many thousand among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. That means I've got no chance.
No, but we should think like that. We should be humble and think like that. But Where we place our hope is the mercy of the Lord, especially in the form of Lord Chaitanya. And that's something that Prabhupada emphasized many times, is that he's so kind in the mood of Radharani. Because Radharani is such a soft-hearted devotee, wants to bring everyone to Krishna's service. So Krishna in that mood is so kind, and he's freely giving love of Krishna. So by their mercy, it's possible that we can all come here to peace. When it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, we don't know. But we have to try our best. We have to try our best. And don't think that we're going to fail or anything like that. It's not up to us. It's up to the Lord to decide. But we should always be very humble.
And now, Prabhupada told him he's going to be here with us.
He said that he is in his books. He lives in his books.
Yeah, that's what I said. That Prabhupada said I feel my Guru's presence when I remember his instructions. So like that, we have Prabhupada's instructions, of course. So you can feel Prabhupada's association by reading books, by hearing someone talking about the content of the scriptures, by have videos. We have all this wonderful technology, right? We have video, Prabhupada, you can see Prabhupada, hear him talk. We have all the recordings, nearly every single thing that Prabhupada said, all the classes, morning walks, room conversations, everything is recorded. So we're so fortunate.
I can't follow. Sorry, mate. On my end, I can't follow the conversation.
Okay, I'll try to get it sorted out. Johnny, how can we deal with this? Do we turn our speakers off and back on again? How about we
start again?
Yeah, let's sign out and sign back in again. And let's try if that works.